Hello, good evening, dear classmates and teacher. Today I'm going to talk about Mediterranean cooperation and conflict. If the citizens of both shores know something, it is that when violence breaks out, the consequences are felt everywhere. If you go into any search engine and type Mediterranean, you will see many maps, but also iconic images of beautiful white villages, turquoise coves, olive groves, and bustling markets. This is the idea of the common Mediterranean, that of societies with a shared past and a happy and pleasant way of life. However, if any information portal is opened, the Mediterranean refers us to the competition between riparian countries for its territorial waters, environmental degradation, and above all, the drama of migrants and refugees who try to cross it fleeing from entrenched conflicts or the lack of opportunities and the inability to manage this emergency of the European states and institutions. Perhaps because conflict and competition tend to attract the reader's attention. It is worth starting by remembering that exactly 25 years ago, the Mediterranean was synonymous with cooperation, rather of the will or hope to transform the region through cooperation. Taking advantage of the optimism generated by the Oslo Accords between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the ministers of 27 European and Mediterranean countries met in Barcelona. Israelis and Palestinians sat around the same table and together with the rest of the founding partners, they committed to dialogue and work together. Indeed, this quarter of a century has been marked by double frustration: the failure of the peace process in the Middle East, the growing inequalities between both shores and within each one of the societies, or the disastrous management of migration, have taken us away from the objectives that the founders had set. As if this were not enough, the optimism aroused by the Arab Springs was also quickly eliminated. The counter-revolutionary wave passed over the emancipatory will and the demand for change of an important part of Arab and Mediterranean societies. In 2019, the protests returned to the streets of the Arab world, but the pandemic confined them. Will they return in 2021? With what force and with what reaction from their states? The most dramatic case is Syria. 10 years of war, 5.6 million refugees, and almost 7 million internally displaced. In 2020, except for the ceasefire in Libya, the balance of news has been rather worrying. Growing tension in the eastern Mediterranean and the risk of thawing in a frozen conflict such as the Sahara. There are very few weeks until the end of 2020. For many, a disastrous year with postponed plans, but the Mediterranean is not an exception, but a good reflection of this situation. We will have to keep waiting for more favorable conditions to reactivate cooperation. And as I said before, if citizens on both shores know something, it is that when violence breaks out, the consequences are felt everywhere. In the same way, when hope arises, as it did in 1995, optimism also overflows borders.